So my name's Euan Davis, this is Frida. We've just done a culture breakfast and it was really interesting actually to hear what the audience was saying. I was really interested in your research. Perhaps you can give a lowdown on what your research has been, because it really does key into these issues, I think, around technology and people.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I'll be happy to. So yes, I'm leading a research project on digitalization of expertise. And the main question in this project is what happens with experts in organizations when more and more of their tasks can be automated or replaced by an AI solution. So we're really looking into different kinds of internal work processes that are changing, need for new competences, of course, and the cultural changes that are needed to really make this happen, to transform.
Yeah, it's huge. I mean, in your conversations with clients, how are they beginning to tackle this? Because it's huge. In our breakfast this morning, you talked about this executive class, which is on a track to partnership, and they're really resistant to some of these tools and technologies. How are some of their leaders reacting to those things?
Yeah, I think that was quite a surprising finding from the research, and the leaders were surprised themselves. And just to share an anecdote with you, one of the partners of a leading firm in the professional service industry said that he had invited all the partners for individual chats. So where's the future? What should we do? How can we remain relevant in digitalization, etc.? What should we do? And he said, well, one group of people was sitting like this all the time. They just didn't want to engage. And as you said, these are the people who are on partner track, the junior partners, who are played exactly by the rules so far and are so close to get there, to get the goal. But now the rules of the games are changing, and they don't have the type of technical skills that the juniors have, and they don't have the experience and also the platform to just sort of, not lie back, but sit back a little bit as the seniors can do and say, okay, we need to change, we need to work in new ways, and that's okay. So I think this group of people are super dedicated to the companies. Well, it's really, really important that we take care of this group of people and make sure that they feel that I can actually still contribute and what I do counts at this company, even though we're transforming. That's
really interesting. So what do you think is going to happen to that group? Because I think you're right, that they are key to unlocking how, say, for example, a professional company or professional services company operates. How, in your discussions with senior leaders, how are they beginning to communicate and try and support that group forward?
So I think one of the key issues here is about the performance measurement, the metrics that you apply in the organization, and also, of course, the culture. What kind of expertise and skills are we valuing highly in this organization? And if you start to change that a little bit, that will also change the behavior and attitudes of this group of people, because then you have got new rules to play after, so to say. So if you are rewarded for learning more about new technologies, for example, or engaging in service innovation, process innovation, then that is going to sort of nudge them into that kind of behavior. And I also think it's very important to reduce fear among all employees, of course, but especially in this group, that you're not going to be bypassed by these young people because they're more digital native, but you still have your important role to play in this organization. We are going to help you to do that in a nice way.
Now, I think what was really interesting from your presentation, which can be found online, is you talked about this the pipeline of talent and the pipeline of people coming through. And in the other expert views we had as well, they were talking about how problematic it was finding people that wanted to join I hate to say it, but a legacy company as opposed to, you know, a Spotify or a digitally invented company. Is that something that your research has unpacked or begun to look at as well? Or?
Yeah, absolutely. This is a big challenge for most companies, and also within the professional service industry, trying to attract, for example, data scientists or data analysts or whatever it is, programmers. So what we can see here is that one way of doing it is to sort of widen the scope and not go for those who have a large or huge background or a very long education, but picking people directly from school who have a strong passion for programming, for technology and so on, and then give them on-the-job training inside the professional service firm. They might be a little bit easier to attract, but still have technological insights and expertise that is really valuable.
The fact that things are changing so quickly and the skills that people need are almost a moving target, and it's difficult to know where to land and say this is what you need to focus on. And it was interesting, I don't know if you have a perspective on this, but it was really interesting to hear about this. I mean, everyone talked about startups at today's event. So we're talking about work culture. And for me, the big learning was you need to figure out how to plug this energy at the edge of the business into the heart of the business. And you need new organizational mechanisms to do it. And we heard from SEB, and there's a very interesting kind of initiatives, which felt very top-down, which felt right, but they felt top-down. Then there was Zandvik that had a very bottom-up approach with its portals. I'm kind of curious to sort of see what you felt when you saw that as well.
Yeah, I think you're right. It's really interesting to see these different directions that it can take. And I do think it's really important, as was mentioned here at the snapshot, to really be sort of in tune with or listen to the startups, what's happening out there. But then I think also, as part of the research project I'm running, we're also talking to these startups. So what kind of role do they see or envision for themselves? And surprisingly, most of them are not saying that, well, we are the new competitors or the disruptors of the industry. Rather, they really see them as a complement or as a partner to these larger companies. So I think there is a strong willingness to collaborate across the organizational boundaries, which I think is, but that also puts new demands on leaders to be able to organize with that kind of collaboration and listen to the startups or listen to the hubs or whatever you want to create.
That's right, because your work actually looks at that, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Look at organizational models and processes and so on. Can you give us a flavor of that as it relates maybe to culture and how that's beginning to change?
Yeah. Yes, I think one interesting group that I spoke about this morning is the translators inside companies. People who have a good knowledge both about technology and business or the kind of business that the company is running, and they can actually act as a bridge between different groups of people inside the company, but also a bridge between the company and its partners. Or it could be startups, it could be other types of partnerships that we see. But just trying to educate or train and also keep this kind of people is so important. And we can see that in some companies, they're creating platforms and also internal training courses where people with, for example, a business background or a background within law are getting trained by the technical experts and vice versa, so that both groups get a feeling for the other one's language
it's like
and
connecting
tools.
the dots,
Exactly.
isn't it, between what's happening. I mean, interesting enough, I just came from Zurich, where we had a hackathon, and it was fascinating to sort of see how this hackathon was run and how these startups were engaged, and also how potentially disruptive it could be for not just us, but for our clients and prospects and so on. And I almost think what I have to do is try and translate it in a way which doesn't scare the senior leadership, because if you go in and sort of say, I'm really sorry, but your business is toast. It's not going to kind of fly, but you almost have to think about how you message and make it work and think about maybe some of those partnership approaches to get it done. I think if there's one big learning for me about culture, it's thinking about making culture shared and actually thinking about bringing together a broader field of providers, people, leaders, startups, whatever, trying to sort of think about how you can sort of create these new mind maps between different organizations and so on. It's quite interesting, we were talking about what you think signpost of a good culture is and a healthy culture, and I think it's aspects like that, being open to some of the fresh ideas at the edge of the business. I look forward to reading your research. I know it's a 3-year project, is that right?
That's right.
So when will the results be available, or when can we have a look?
Well, research is a slow business, but we're working on it and we are producing different types of papers and articles and so on. So the project ends in 2020, but we're going to have lots of information come out through the time.
Well, I think it's very timely, and if you take that piece of research alongside what we've been writing on culture, I think it's going to be really interesting how you bring those two pieces together. So thank you. I appreciate your time.
Thank you.